Swing trading watch list for the 7th of February. So much movement in this market. I'm not going to have a lot on this video because everything has gone into the bear zone and beyond and then bounced. All these this particular indicator that I share on YouTube, everything's got a reset. It's going to be probably weeks before a lot of this a lot of stock starts showing up on these alert levels. We will be continuing the video. There won't be as many stocks to share every day as time goes forward while we settle in and balance out. But we'll be sharing some stuff from our other side on our more active trader alerts as they progress, and a little bit of market insight, which we're not financial advisors by any means, just our gut feeling. Today I did nothing but sit on hands mostly, even though the big swings we had, they were most of the time pretty unpredictable. I think the Dow probably made a 120, 150 point bounce about 5 or 6 times middle of the day. It seemed like it was 3 times that many times. Stocks would run up and then come right back down, and they might run $1 or $2. You could time the entry, but you couldn't time the exit very well because you had no idea when those high frequency computers were going to start selling it again. And then finally had that huge rally in today, which was plenty of alerts to look at, but you still didn't know to trust it. And then it got accelerated, of course, and you didn't want to chase it at that point. Things have settled down, and much better trading days ahead. We needed this correction. I actually put out several things today on our website where the alerts show up. One first stating that these big swings on these high ATR stocks as they rip back and forth, kind of expecting what the market might do today, that those stocks were going to shift from long to short, and they might give several dollar moves during that time, but they were going to be rampant. I put that message out this morning about 20 after 8, and then middle of the day I came back with a note about sitting on my hands all day and these rapid effects of these volatile moves. And my feeling into the day is I'll just read what I posted. Don't think the strong close means this sell-off is done. I like to personally draw a trend line. I'm going to show that to y'all in just a minute. We're going to draw it together on a weekly or daily chart and then use that to look for a revisit in the days ahead. We may run up tomorrow, go sideways for a day or two, drift back down, and when we drift back down and get to that trend line that was established by today's low, in my opinion, we want to hold that. Or if we do go push through it, we want to come back and close above it. And it's important that we get back above that trend line that was established on this volatile move. Pete Nigerian, who's a well-respected trader, a lot of you guys know him from Option Monster and so forth, on CNBC, he actually stated that I think we're going to see some lower lows. So he's a lot smarter than I am, and I kind of agree with that. We're going to see some pullbacks. May not be tomorrow, maybe a few days from now, and we'll look at that trend line and try to get a feel for that. And I don't draw that on the SPY. I draw it on the SP 500 itself. A few years ago, we had a big sell-off, and I drew the line on the SPY and the SP 500 looking for that revisit. And when the SP 500 actually did the revisit, the SPY wasn't close. So we totally would have missed the alert to feel like we had reached the bottom, which it had. It ended up being the massive run that followed in the days after that happened. But the SPY would have never gave that alert. The trend lines were totally not in sync. Let's get started with the charts. First of all, I'd like to apologize for last night's video. I changed up the format, and like I'm doing tonight, and some of the presets I had on my normal videos when I went to produce a recording bled over into the video, and which I've corrected since then. But if you're watching a video and see something crazy like that, throw a comment out there for me. One of the guys did give me a comment, and but he was the over 20 people who watched it without commenting on it. And a friend, a guy that I've talked to before, one of our subscribers, and he's like, hey, you need to check your video. And I realized what I had done at that time as soon as I listened to the first 2 minutes of it, and corrected it and republished it. There's been 4 or 5 views since I put it back out there, but anytime you see that, please let me know. I'd be glad to get that corrected. I didn't have any idea that had occurred, and I know what caused it, and it's the first time I had modified what I was doing here. I'm letting you look at the bull breaks first of all. We'll go back and we'll glance at these charts as we get further in this. Trip had a monster day today, and SWKS had earnings. It gapped up this morning, and this LPLA did a bull break today as well. And another stock I know didn't bull break was LITE had earnings this morning. That was actually the best trade I had all day. Was this LITE, and we'll look at it. It went up through the 50. I took that LITE and just tried to get something away from the normal market conditions, and that had earnings, so it ended up providing a good setup midday and really nice breakout. I exited at the opening high, and then it based a little bit and came right back and broke out again about 20 minutes later and ran about $3 more. These were the bull breaks yesterday. Of course, we didn't have anything other than the SQs, triple Qs there. And most of this stuff sold off a lot, because of the market. So you don't have anything really still in a bull condition. And we're going to look at the bears as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and share these 3 charts with you real quick, just so we can see where they're at. We'll be done with that part. This stock had just a little pullback in the last couple of days with the market, and then this morning broke back up into the day. It was back to this whole high. It's back in this bull zone, and it could go ahead and go on. I mean, it's strong compared to the market, so a stock that might be worth watching. I don't think it's a very good day trader, just looking at how it acted today, but it could set up tomorrow a little bit different. This was your intraday action. It got back to this resistance line and chopped around a bit, but it could be different tomorrow. SWKS had earnings. It gapped up this morning, which put it back into its bull zone state that it was actually trying really close to get into on this candle. Keep in mind, this is a 200-day right here. It's rejected it before. Nice gap up this morning. Good sold off with the market the last couple of days, and his earnings were enough to overcome that. And most of this was in the early candle, of course. It sold back off and chopped all day, but it ended up where you want to see it at the end of the day, and that's above this old high, and closed well. And this old high was right here just a few days ago, so that's why I have the lines on the charts. On the daily, I mean, I can see that. There may be another old high that might be this one back here that would be referenced on a bigger time frame chart or a shorter time frame chart. You can go the hourly. There's that line that represents what we were just looking at, and your 15-minute catches that most recent high. So that's why I use these lines. They plot and tell you things on many different time frames, and you don't have to change them up. And then Trip had a big day. Monster day, just broke out this morning through this support resistance line on the daily that had been down here. Spent a lot of time below, tried to get above, got sold back off prior to the market selling off, and yesterday had a pretty strong day when that down $1,000 down day on the market. So it just continued on up today, and by the end of the day it was up into its bull zone, which triggered right here. So this was probably real early in the morning. 37.24, let's see, 37.30 was that level. From the time that alert went out, $3.54. Which would have been a great, that happened early, of course. 37.30 was right here at this old high area, right before the old high. This is what the lines tell you. Okay, here's a recent high. It's plotted. I don't know if I can pull it back far enough to see where that was. Quite a time, some time ago, it gapped up one morning and put this high in. That's your resistance. This was the high before that. Before that was plotted, this was your high. So you got two lines here, and they're indicated on this chart. We'll get back over and focus back in on today's action. These lines were the values seen in the box to the left, 37.48, and the upper line was 38.17. What happened this morning? This is how you use these lines. When we broke out this morning, we got through the bull zone right in this area, 37.30 I think was the number. When it pushed through, it busted through this old high, that was resistance. Got to the last old high, that was resistance, and it did this pullback. These are 15-minute candles. So by 10:30 you're back down here, and exactly what you want it to do. It retests the support resistance, closes back above it, opens the next bar up, and this is where you want to step into this trade. And then you got this monster run here. That's why I use the lines on my charts. When you get into this situation, it guides you. You're like, what I do. Well, on this chart right in here, does anything help you? And you can, of course, tell you break this new high out, but to know why it's holding here, that's the key about the lines. Why is it holding here? Because you might not know that this line is way back here when that big spike came into play. That back on the 23rd, 2 weeks ago. You're probably not looking 2 weeks back on a 15-minute chart. I'm not, but because the line's here, I don't really have to go back and look. I know exactly what happened. That's what the green line means. It's ran up, created a high, and pulled back. Ran up, created a high, and pulled back. These lines just keep recycling themselves. So today, these two old highs stay intact across here, and another line comes up and starts replacing them on this new high. This gets revisited, it's still here on my chart. Because if it pulls back, this is support. So a little lesson about the lines, we'll move on through the charts. We'll go ahead and handle the weekly bull breaks while we're here. That's this tab right here, so we're done with that. There are none, of course. Go ahead and cover the weekly bears while I'm here, then we're going to spend a little extra time on the daily bears. All these stocks broke this week. The thing to notice here is that these went into the weekly bear zone. This was the level, and these particular stocks, based on that bear zone break level, are still in the level, and they didn't have big rebounds today. This was the net change today. All these are still just barely come back up today on a green day. Now they may come a lot tomorrow. We had earnings here on AGCO. It was either before the bell or after the bell. I'm not sure about that, but that's the date. So it was down. It could have been down because of market conditions or earnings helping it. It's got support right here below it on the weekly. It's right below the 50 week. It's down here double bottoming from these last two levels, and you can see this is again a good example of the charts. You break out. This is a weekly chart. When it pulled back, what did it do? Held support. Old high. Got near it again. Held it again. That's where we are now. What it does, that needs to be paid attention to. We'll just run right on down these real quick. Breakdown today through the bear zone. Big bounce on this stock. And from the most recent high, my plot here for target 1, target 2, actually where that level was at It's about where this went to today. That level was 37.09, and the low today was 37.01. It's not support. It's my expected levels that I'll look for charts to work themselves through. VXP into the weekly bear zone, I believe earlier in the week, had a pretty good bounce today with the market, and it does have an old low back here. That's what this pink line represents, and it did close above it. So it revisited some support back from 2016 and did hold it. So it may be done with whatever it's doing here just in the market. If you take this chart, if you're interested in this stock, draw you a trend line from here to here. It's extending across here. That's now your resistance. You got to get back through that. Basing sideways for several weeks. Broke down last week through this support line, and then this week has continued on down. This may or may not have anything to do with the market. It's well into this level. On a daily chart, it's got some more room to run down, probably on down to this level here, which is still a few more dollars down. That was the last place, one of the last places it bounced at, which is going to put you right in here. That's what that line's all about. These levels are that line. CNI probably just caught up in this sell-off. UMP, big railroad, had a good day today. Real strong stock off the open. This stock has run down real hard one day a while back in some volatility in this sector, and held this support line very nicely that day or that week, and now it's back there again. It really needs to hold right here. That level is $75.92. It did test it and hold it today, and it's into the bear zone, or tested and held it this week, last 2 days. DLR is another stock working its way down into the bear zone, further down into the bear zone. Now this is why I show you this. I want you to understand stocks, that this stock broke in the bear zone back up here first time, came back again a couple of weeks later, and it's been down in here. So this is just, and it's recalculating these levels. When it broke into the bear zone the first time, it was like way back up in this area on this particular week here. So this is a new level that's been calculated by the price action. It's not the original alert, but I want you to know that the original alert is really the ones that count. So getting you started here. So you're kind of maybe in a chase situation here. This has also moved down to my target 2 and held there. So this could actually end up, depending on what it does on the daily, be in a place that this reverses. So you have to tie those things together. HIMX, this stock's been selling. It broke this trend line I drew several weeks ago across here, and just continues on down. If you drew another trend line, you're well beyond that. You got the 200 week here. It's got plenty of more room to the downside, at least back into this area. If it continues to go, that's down around $5. Trend line wise, it's below all the trend lines, so I don't really see where to draw one unless you come out here on a monthly. Yeah, you can come out here on your monthly chart and draw you a trend line way back here, across here. That needs to be your support when it gets there. KHC, this has been in a downtrend for quite a while. Did hit the 200 week moving average this week and broke down further during the week. Had a decent little bounce today, like many stocks did. It does have overhead resistance on the daily if it comes back up in this area right here around 75.25, which is right here, this low right here. That's your resistance now that it's below it. Another stock losing a 50 week after basing for 2 weeks here. So this sell-off started way before the last 3 days volatility in the market. This thing went into daily bear zone way back up here. 3 weeks ago. Got a couple of more on here. And the main reason I'm going through these is a lot different than the daily. These are still kind of down here, and they didn't have a big bounce. They didn't have a big day today. This is their net for today, and a lot of stocks had some big up days off yesterday's lows. So this is still drifting down. You can draw you a trend line across the bottom of here. It needs to get back above that at minimum. Of course, that'll be downsloping, so hopefully it'll get above that, but it can still keep drifting down in this channel it's in. This thing's got a long way to go to making a bounce. And the last stock here is revisiting near some lows that it put in back in 2016 again last year, and it's back near there again. And it's got a little daily support line right here. It's pretty close to that. And then, of course, this last other time will be your next support line. And it really needs to hold those levels. We'll get back over on the daily bears, and that's going to be a big list. And we're not going to try to cover all the stocks. And if you remember, yesterday was 169 stocks on that. And most of those bounced today. That's where we're going to talk about things got to reset here. While you're here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Twitter or StockTwits at Daytrader Setups. And our website is daytradersetups.com and swingtradersetups.com. Don't forget, this video is being brought to you by our premium alerts at swingtradersetups.com. They're real-time alerts. They're posted on our website, and we're looking at our bull zone weekly and daily breakouts, and our bear zone weekly and daily breakouts that are in one category on the website. And there are other categories that are more aggressive for the more active trader as well. And by having a subscription to that service, you get all these alerts intraday as they happen, and one subscription gets you access to everything, as well as our chart system. If you would like to get it, I can set you up a couple of different ways to have the green and pink lines available for your charts as you review. Let's go forward. You don't have many on today's bear break because so many arrived here yesterday, and then of course the market had a very large bounce, and many of these had a bounce. Even though we're down, still down for today, and they're still all green on the bear break from where they triggered at today, but that don't really mean a whole lot. I think these are in the momentum of the downtrend. Like this stock, for instance, has ran down my 2 levels. If you drew a trend line across this, going back probably everywhere you get to back there, across the bottom of this, you're probably sitting right about there, and that's an important level. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because they have all just been caught in this market sell-off and may be done. This stock here bounced off the 200 day today, come right back up. Strong day for this little stock. It's back into resistance. This stock's still down $12 from the bear break, which is way up here. It gapped through that number this morning through the 50-day, opened right here, and accelerated to the downside about $18, and then did a big bounce. I want you to notice what it did here. This line that was already on the chart is $108.12. The low of day was 108. It revisited, and that wasn't this little wick, that was this base across here. It revisited that low, which was pretty much in line with this last little wick down, and did hold there. High frequency machines stepped in at all kind of levels this morning right off the bat, and broke out. we're going to look at the SPY here in just a minute too. I want to get through these few stocks and look at that now, because I had a trend line already on it, and technically, even though it didn't touch it intraday, it did touch it pre-market. Went down below it and it come back above it, which was one of the reasons we had that surge at the open. Just letting you see where these stocks are. And like I say, most of this stuff is caught up in the momentum, and now that these stocks have gone so far down, they're going to have to base out for several weeks before they start coming back in any kind of bull zone trends. They may bounce $4, but they won't be in my bull zones. They will be on my active trader alerts. And then we got this last stock, came down, closed about the 50-day, got this support line right in this same area. Probably just caught up in this sell-off. And this would be a pretty easy stock if you drew you a trend line right across here. You pretty much looks like you might have held that trend line. There you go. Pinned it, got back above it, held it. That's a good sign. It may visit it again, and that's what I'm fixing to talk about on the SPY. See if I can find that drawing I already got on here. Alright, I drew this line on the SPY days ago, and I didn't go all the way back. I just took the last place it kind of headed up pretty strong after this little base. So alright, that's the first level, which it busted. I was looking to see if it could hold that the other day, and it did. And then the next morning it gapped down below it, and when it went back it tested it and then sold on off. I'm going to move us over to a chart without anything else on it. Just trying to look way back here and get a reference point. This was a place this based at made a high and failed, okay? So this was before this last breakout. Was this just this little base right here? That's what this little line is. This line's value back here was $259.35. We held there pretty nicely today, just slightly below that, about 50 cents. And the market caught the bounce. I had drawn another trend line on this chart. I drew it on the SP 500. Let's switch over there for a minute. Down here, I like to use the SP 500. I mentioned it earlier in the video. I drew lines on the SPY a couple years back, and the SP 500 revisited my lines, but the SPY didn't get close. So I like to use the actual market rather than the SPY when it gets into situations like this. And I'm going to get this over on this other clean, totally clean chart. Get it on the daily. Find our trend line. I drew this on a weekly chart. I went way back with this trend line. From this last try to pivot low back in the middle of 2016. And I'm going to try to get this more pinpoint right here. It needs to be readjusted. Make sure we got it on those lows. And I kind of looked at that we probably breached that pre-market, and then we opened, and when we dipped down this morning, we went back there. This is a weekly now, so this morning we were way down here. We bounced back up, but that level, just trying to eyeball it right here, around 25.64. It's where that was at this time. Because a lot of times they won't line up exactly right when you switch over here, but We didn't get near that low, but I'm not sure we didn't get that low pre-market, because that's not much below where we actually dipped down to after the open. But I like to take and draw a line on the daily and try to reference where we went to. We ain't went all the way down here yet. This is really hard to figure out right here. Getting it to look like I want it to look to get a good trend line on it. This is a 4-hour chart. Trying to find a good little plane in here somewhere to. Didn't get there. I want to use today's low is what I'm trying to do. Let's just take this last little pivot here. Zoom this back in, we can see a little bit better. Just get some kind of reference point off today's lows. Back on the daily now. I'll zoom this, get this just right. Okay. Just using this line. I've started this line October 25th. This market's probably going to revisit this line in the coming days ahead. It may run up here and drift back into here, and then this weekly line, of course, is really more relevant. If we lose it all, this goes way back, remember. If we lose it all and break down through this area, when we get to this weekly line, that should be our support again, and surely we'll hold at that level. But that's what, to me, you got to watch going forward on this market. And I'm going to look at those other daily, the bear zone grid here real quick, and we'll wrap this up. Last night's video, we didn't spend any time. We just showed you this was at 169 stocks. Now, that came in yesterday into the bear on the big $1,000 down day. These stocks, many you can see, up $5. This is the SPYs on here too. Up $5 today for the day. Ended the day still barely profitable below this line where it came in on the bear zone the day before. But at the low, that's what this is. This thing peaked in there at $13. Home Depot, same thing, $8 up day based on the trigger price on Monday. This is back above it by $1.86. But at the low, after the trigger price, it was down $13. Same thing on this ADS. It triggered. Today it's still $6 below that trigger price on the daily bear zone. And at the peak, it was up $14. So these were intact when they came in, but now with this big bounce, they're not still in play anymore. And that's just the point I'm trying to make. You get such a violent move, everything kind of has to reset. Like on CI, from the trigger, it's still $3 below into the bear zone. It was down $9 at the peak after that trigger yesterday. Now it actually is holding a support line that I see here just on the daily chart. This is where an old high where it rejected. It's now that support line that's just coming into play here. It's not a huge support line, but this has had a massive pullback relative to most everything through all the target zones. So, you know, most of this stuff is setting up for bounces, but that don't mean they're not going to come back down and do little minor bounces. I don't want anybody to, nothing on this bull zone obviously is not saying, hey, it's time to take a swing trade. That'll be weeks before those start to set back up. But these stocks that went into these bear zones, I'm not sure they don't go down again, but it's just, you just got to fill each stock out, draw a trend line on it. CMI was ugly today. I think they might have had earnings today. For some reason that jumps out at me. A lot of this stuff, I was looking this morning trying to find trades. The doggone spreads were 70 and 80 cents or a dollar, and a lot of times the volumes were thin to begin with. Even when we had that big bounce, the spreads were so big on a lot of things, and the volume was very, very light on many things. So this has all got to settle out in the next few days. I would almost say zoom in on maybe a 30-minute or hourly chart if you're trying to work your way through this. But long-term swings, I expect, as said earlier, I wouldn't doubt we have another drift sideways here and then revisit that trend line I just drew. And you might want to put some trend lines on any stock you're interested in. You always need to draw a trend line. But any stock you're interested in that goes back and visits those trend lines, you want to make sure you close above them at the end of the day. And I want to share one more little item with you here at the end. ActiveTraderSetups.com will take you to this page that I've been sharing for the last few days. You can also go to SwingTraderSetups.com and get on this calls in action highlights. And I've been posting some of the subscribers' information over here. And this was some trend shift longs from yesterday. All these mean is that during the day, my F50 that was in a red zone falling condition during the day on the 5th actually turned the corner. That don't mean they didn't go back down today, because these stocks are moving so fast up and down. But they made that turn during the day, and it gave the time of the trigger and where the stock was at the end of the day. Now this was below that trigger price on this particular stock, but it was still in the long zone. Many times they'll break into this green zone and they will pull back 2 to 2.5 factors a lot of times before they head on up. So that's what this had kind of done here yesterday. It gave the alert at 54.62, and then at the end of the day it was down to 53.27. And I'm sharing this because of the volatility in the market. I know a lot of our regular subscribers watch this too, and I want them to see this. You're getting these alerts that are only temporary little moves, and they pull back and they come up again. But we had that big close, and so this report today is going to say yes, it was in the down zone yesterday at the end of the day, and it flipped today. And I'm also going to have the ones that ended the day in the uptrend. They might have, like these here, they had flipped yesterday, so they wouldn't show a flip today because they started in the green zone and they ended up back in the green zone. But they'll be on the list here as well. I'm going to put all this on this page, and I'm going to open it to anybody that watches this video is going to know about it. And you can come in here and take a look. It don't mean these things are going up with the volatility we've had, but it means they ended the day. These were the ones that shifted into the short zone during the day yesterday. But a lot of them are going to end up saying yes into the green zone today. It'll give you that last price. I'll give you a couple of items to do a couple of things. One, you can see where these bigger factors took these things long today, at what point on this rally at the end of the day that these things broke in and where they went to. So you can see how the alerts, maybe if you're a day trader, could have put you on a couple of trades. I'll only do the report on the F50s and above, but we're going to put that in. I'm also going to bring in the end of the day report that just shows you that currently it's at a downtrend or uptrend state, and if it's in the uptrend state, it'll go back into the charts and it'll pick up the time that it triggered from being in a downtrend back into the uptrend, which is kind of the same as this yes, except for this could go back 3 days. It doesn't have a time period. It can go back to wherever the last crossover in the current trend occurred. It gives you the timestamp with the date. So check this out. You can get an idea, maybe a watch list for tomorrow, right off the ones that had shifted into the green zone. And have some watches for stocks that if we have a good update tomorrow, those will be some good ones to be looking at. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel. Go over and check our website out. You can get there by typing swingtradersetups.com. Click on this calls in action. And we're making this available for a day or two, letting you guys see this since this market's in such a turmoil. Or you can just type in activetradersetups.com. Take you straight to this page. Subscribe to our channel while you're here. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on StockTwits.